At my mother's funeral, my boss screamed, "Your dead mother isn't our problem." He didn't know she collected 15 years of evidence on illegal chemical dumps. I was fired, offered hush money, but I walked into the executive room with her flash drive. "Your dead mother isn't our problem," my boss bellowed. The office froze. Every email stopped mid-type. Phones lowered. My fingers curled around the edge of my purse, knuckles turning white. I didn't say a word. Just walked slowly to my desk, slipped off my coat, and pulled out an envelope. What was inside that envelope made 3 high-ranking executives resign before lunch. Because I hadn't been at my mother's funeral. I'd been somewhere else, doing something far more dangerous. 3 days earlier, I stood in my mother's cramped apartment, surrounded by crochet yarn, old picture frames, and the lingering scent of lavender disinfectant. She died with my hand in hers. Not even an hour after she passed, my supervisor, Deacon Vance, texted me, "Need you back by Monday, quarterly review." No condolences. No mention of the obituary I'd shared. I returned on Tuesday. As I walked through the glass doors of Parallax Materials based in Yakima, silence rolled over me like fog. Every eye turned. Deacon stormed toward me, binder in hand, tie loose like a noose he didn't know was tightening. "Where were you?" His voice pierced the quiet like a blade. "Your team scrambled during the most important client presentation of the quarter." I swallowed. My mother's funeral. We don't schedule around personal tragedies," he barked. "Client deadlines don't grieve." Then he said it. "Your dead mother isn't our problem." The office gasped. Someone actually dropped a mug. No one moved to pick it up. I turned, walked to my desk, reached into my bag and pulled out a sealed manila envelope. "I understand deadlines," I said, meeting his eyes. "Just like OSHA regulations and ethical disposal of toxic chemicals." That shut him up. "If this moment hits you like it hit me, do me one favor. Hit that like button and drop your city in the comments. I want to know where people are watching from and who's listening." "I wasn't at my mom's funeral," I said louder now. "I spent the day at Yakima Valley Medical Center, sitting across from a panel of government regulators." I paused. "They've been waiting for this envelope." Deacon paled. "What no one at Parallax knew, what my mother never told a soul, is that for 15 years she cleaned that building. Her name was Oralia Morno. She emigrated from Honduras. She worked 2 shifts, night cleaning at Parallax, day volunteer at the local hospital. She was a ghost to them, but she was the reason I have a master's in environmental toxicology. She also spent 8 years secretly collecting samples, because every Wednesday night, she was ordered to dispose of strange, unlabeled containers from the 6th floor. Waste that burned through gloves. That reeked of metal and death. She documented it all, dates, times, smells, photos, names. 3 other janitors developed cancer within 18 months. All had cleaned the 6th floor. They thought Oralia was just another quiet cleaning lady. They were wrong. The conference room on the 6th floor used to be where executives toasted bonuses and backroom deals. Now, it smelled like bleach and fear. I sat between Willa Darnell, our quiet office analyst who'd unexpectedly stood by me, and Director Freya Collins from the EPA. Her silver buzz cut and no-nonsense eyes told me she wasn't here to play politics. Across from us sat Kendrick Roy, the CEO of Parallax, flanked by 2 lawyers and a twitchy VP named Silas Breen, who kept checking his phone like his life depended on it. "Miss Morno," Kendrick began, folding his hands like a disappointed uncle, "we understand you're grieving, but what you're suggesting is quite serious." "I'm not suggesting anything," I said, sliding a copy of my mother's logbook across the table. "I'm showing you." The air thickened as Director Collins flipped open the first page. "Photos," she noted, holding one up. "This waste bin is tagged with a chemical hazard symbol. But your manifest shows this batch was reported as janitorial debris." Silas shifted in his chair. "We outsource waste services, must have been a labeling issue." 8 years of labeling issues?" I asked, my voice sharp. Freya's associate, a younger man with a case of vials and a portable scanner, interrupted. "We've already tested residue from the hallway bins. We found traces of chlorinated solvents, benzene derivatives, and methyl ethyl ketone, all above legal thresholds." Kendrick leaned back, jaw clenched. "That floor's restricted for R&D. We've had clearance for testing." "With proper disposal," Freya shot back, not pouring industrial toxins into everyday trash and risking untrained cleaning staff. The silence that followed was loud. Then the door burst open. "Excuse me," a voice barked. It was Deputy DA Malcolm Reyes, sent by my friend Dante, who couldn't make it. He scanned the room and walked straight to me. "We just got a court order to freeze Parallax's sixth-floor waste systems and pull internal emails." He dropped a thick folder on the table. "Turns out someone's been editing disposal logs retroactively. Sloppy ones, too." Kendrick's lawyer lunged for the folder, but Malcolm beat him to it. "By the way, we found encrypted backups," he added, turning to me. "You were right. Your mom was 10 steps ahead." My eyes welled, but I didn't let the tears fall. "Not yet." Willa leaned in. "The sixth floor's cameras, do you think they still have footage?" "Already pulled," Malcolm said. "And here's the kicker, Oralia was in the footage, clearly documenting the containers, wearing gloves, mask, time-stamped." Kendrick looked ready to combust. "You have no idea what you're interfering with." "You said that already," I said calmly. "The difference now, the world's listening." Then Silas did something unexpected. He stood. "Enough," he said, voice trembling. "I warned them. I said it wasn't safe. I even sent anonymous tips to the state lab, but nobody followed up." Everyone turned to him. "I'm not going down for this," he said. "You want emails, I've got originals. You want sign-offs? Check Kendrick's initials. He approved every single shipment." "Silas," Kendrick growled, but it was too late. Silas looked at me. "I'm sorry, I really am. Your mom, she didn't deserve what happened." That moment cracked something open, not just in the room, but in the entire investigation. Sila's confession spread through the building like fire through dry leaves. By the time I stepped out of the conference room, a small crowd had formed in the hallway. HR reps, marketing associates, IT staff, even 2 night janitors I'd never seen in the daytime. Word had gotten out. "They're saying your mom was set up," one whispered. "She was exposing something way bigger," another said. "Like, government contracted big." Willa and I ducked into the stairwell, needing air and distance. We didn't get far. "Wait," Willa's hand gripped the railing. "You feel that?" I stopped. The air smelled off burnt plastic and ozone. We turned the corner, smoke, thick and black, curling from the base of a locked electrical closet on the 6th floor. We ran. A maintenance guy with a fire extinguisher was already trying to contain it, cursing. "This just flared up, came from nowhere." Willa's face went white. "That's where the servers were housed. The internal backups." Malcolm Reyes appeared seconds later, holding a radio. "We need the fire marshal, now." But I knew someone had set this fire. Someone knew the walls were closing in and decided to burn the evidence before it could bury them. 2 hours later, Parallax evacuated the entire building. Local news vans had already gathered outside. Helicopters circled. Someone had leaked the EPA investigation. I stood across the street, arms folded, watching thick gray smoke rise from the rooftop vents. Beside me, Willa muttered, "This isn't panic, it's cleanup." And she was right. Because inside that smoke, someone was erasing more than documents. They were erasing people's lives, the truth, and my mother's legacy. But they were too late, because Oralia had mailed copies. To me, to West River Medical, and to one other place. That night I opened the last package. Hidden beneath my mother's old blankets in the storage unit was a worn red shoebox with no label. Inside, 3 thumb drives, a list of names, and a key. "What's this?" Willa asked. I held up the key. It had a serial number etched into the side. "I think this opens a locker." Sure enough, a Google search matched it to a storage facility 2 towns over in Ellensburg. The next morning, we drove there. Unit 227. Inside was a small metal cabinet packed with dozens of labeled envelopes, each one addressed to someone in power: senators, news editors, scientists, whistleblower protection lawyers. My mother hadn't just gathered evidence, she created a distribution network, a backup plan for the backup plan. She didn't just want justice, she wanted accountability. "This is her insurance policy," I whispered, "no matter what they do to stop us." And that's when Willa's phone buzzed. She looked down, then handed it to me without a word. A message. No name, no number. "You're in danger. They know about the storage unit." I froze. How? We hadn't told anyone. Unless Silas, or maybe someone higher. Someone watching us from inside. The air inside the storage unit thickened with dread. That warning text wasn't a prank. Someone was watching us. Willa, we need to leave. Now. We grabbed everything, drives, files, that old red shoebox, and bolted. My hands trembled so badly, I nearly dropped the key as I locked the unit behind us. As we pulled out of the lot, I spotted a black SUV idling near the gate. Tinted windows, no plates. "Don't speed," Willa whispered. "But don't stop either." I kept my eyes forward, heart hammering in my chest, until we merged back onto the highway toward Yakima. The SUV didn't follow, but something else followed us home: paranoia. That night, Willa crashed at my place. We pushed furniture against the doors, closed the blinds, and ran virus checks on all our devices. I even put my phone in a metal mixing bowl, just in case. Willa scrolled through one of the drives. "The email logs here, some of these aren't about chemicals." She tilted the screen. There were names: military contractors, a biotech firm in St. Louis. Secret project codenames like Aegis 17 and Cold Water. My stomach dropped. "This wasn't just about illegal waste," I said. "Parallax was testing things off the books. Things they weren't supposed to have." "What kind of things?" Willa asked. I didn't know, but I knew this wasn't about just one floor or one company anymore. The next day, Malcolm Reyes met us at a diner outside of town. Somewhere with no cameras, he looked like he hadn't slept. "Everything's changed," he said. "The state investigation just got rerouted to federal. All communications now go through a Homeland Security filter." "What does that mean?" Willa asked. "It means the government just realized this could get them sued too." He pulled out a burner phone and slid it to me. "From now on, you use this. Don't talk to anyone from your building. And if anyone shows up claiming to be a federal agent, don't trust them unless they have this symbol." He drew a triangle inside a circle with a small black dot in the center, on their badge. "What is that?" I asked. "Internal Task Force," he said. "Only group I trust right now." I clenched the burner phone like it was made of glass. Malcolm leaned closer. "They want this to go away, Thea, all of it. The company, the chemicals, your mother's death, everything." "But they can't," I said. "She planned for this." "Which is why they'll go after you instead," he said grimly. "People like Kendrick Roy don't just fall, they push back first." That night, I found my apartment door cracked open. The lock wasn't broken, just undone. I stopped cold, every instinct screaming. Willa grabbed my wrist. "Let's go." We ran, fast. 2 blocks down, we ducked into a 24-hour gas station and called Malcolm from the burner phone. He sent a plainclothes detective to meet us. Inside my apartment, someone had gone through everything. Boxes were sliced open. The envelope from West River Medical was missing. My laptop, gone, but they'd made a mistake. They didn't know about the copy. I stashed in the fireproof safe, hidden inside the false floorboard, beneath my mother's old bed. We retrieved it the next morning. It held the master drive, Orlia's original log, encrypted with a password only I could guess. The name of her childhood dog, Salida. I plugged the drive into Willa's spare laptop. There it was. All of it, the evidence of chemical dumping. The missing floor plans showing unlisted laboratories. The voice memos, my mother whispering into a recorder during night shifts. And the final message: "If you're hearing this, it means I didn't survive. But you did, and I need you to finish what I started. For me, for the others, for the truth." Her voice shattered me, but I didn't cry. I set my jaw. Then I asked Willa, "Ready to burn this whole place down?" She nodded once. "We do it on your terms." Our plan had to be faster than their cleanup, louder than their money, and smarter than their lawyers. We didn't just leak the files, we weaponized them. Willa and I set up a secure site hosted through an offshore mirror, masked eyepiece, 3 backup servers. We uploaded everything: the logs, the chemical samples, Orlia's voice memos, Silas's confession, and the encrypted emails tied to Project Cold Water. Then we dropped the first breadcrumb: an anonymous tip. To Rachel Marchand, a fearless investigative reporter out of Portland known for exposing military contractor cover-ups. The kind of journalist who didn't just chase truth, she dragged it into daylight. Within 48 hours, the site went viral. The cleaning lady who exposed a corporation. Mother's dying wish LAUNCHES federal probe. Silent KILLERS on the 6th floor. And then, Project COLDWATER. What is Parallax hiding? Kendrick Roy's face was splashed across every news outlet. Silas Breen's testimony leaked. Congressional interest exploded. And every major environmental agency in the country was suddenly tripping over themselves to open new investigations. But we weren't done. 1 week after the files went public, I stood outside Parallax's headquarters in downtown Yakima. This time, I wasn't alone. Former janitors, nurses from West River, families of the other victims. Even strangers who'd seen the story and came holding signs with my mother's name. Justice for Aurilia. Willa squeezed my hand. "Are you ready?" I nodded and stepped forward, camera crews rushing in, mics thrust at my face. "I'm Thea Morno. My mother, Aurelia, cleaned this building for 15 years. She died because no one in power thought she mattered, but she was watching. And now the world is too." Cheers erupted. Inside, I knew they were panicking. And then, just like fate had cued the moment, it happened. The front doors burst open. Agents in black jackets filed in EPA, FBI, OSHA, and a unit I didn't recognize bearing the same triangle and circle symbol Malcolm had drawn. They said nothing, just handed security a warrant and moved. Within minutes, the 6th floor was taped off again, computers confiscated, phones taken. And then came the real twist. As Kendrick Roy was being escorted from the building in cuffs, his face a perfect cocktail of rage and disbelief, a second car pulled up. Out stepped Maya Escobar, one of the board members I'd only seen in grainy photos. But she wasn't there to help. She held up a folder. "I have evidence of private accounts," she said to the cameras. "Shell companies, off-book experiments tied to Parallax's defense contracts. Kendrick authorized everything." He spun on her, furious. "You were in on this, we agreed." "No," she said calmly. "I made copies." The crowd gasped. I couldn't move, could barely breathe. Willa whispered, she flipped. "She's turning state's witness." Malcolm appeared beside me. "Her testimony seals it. She's got internal communications between Parallax and a black budget group that funded illegal testing in 3 other facilities." I turned to him. "Was my mom the only one who figured this out?" He shook his head slowly. "She was the first to risk her life for it." The final blow came when Congresswoman Rita Hensley, a name I didn't expect, stepped into the spotlight. She'd received one of my mother's envelopes. And now she was calling for a nationwide whistleblower protection reform and mandatory cleanup of corporate disposal practices, all under Aurelia Morno's name. But that wasn't the end. Because the company tried one last desperate move. They sued me, defamation, libel, theft of intellectual property, all nonsense, all meant to bleed me dry, and for a few terrifying weeks it worked. My accounts were frozen. My landlord got an offer to break my lease. Someone slashed my tires. The pressure was mounting. But what they didn't count on was everyone I'd helped. The janitors, the nurses, the anonymous lab tech who sent me an unmarked flash drive. The thousands who'd read the story and donated to the legal fund. They fought back. And behind it all, Willa kept digging. She found emails between Kendrick and a shadow division of a federal lab, and something terrifying. The final email Willa uncovered wasn't marked top secret. It was worse. It was unmarked entirely, buried in a hidden folder, sent from an internal Parallax address to an obscure government-managed lab in Nevada. Subject line: "Cold water confirmed viability, discreet disposal ordered." Attached, photos of canisters, just like the ones my mother had cleaned around for years, labeled with codes tied to biological trials. It wasn't just chemicals. They were testing experimental compounds, genetic agents, some radioactive, some airborne, most banned. One test memo even mentioned unreported tissue exposure in night staff. They knew. They always knew. By the end of the week, the press dubbed it the Parallax Experiment. And Aurelia's name was on every banner, every article, every senator's lips. But Parallax, they weren't going down quietly. They froze my accounts, pressured the judge, threatened Willa anonymously, hacked our website twice. They wanted me scared. Instead, I went louder. We live-streamed the files, dumped encrypted documents across mirrored sites, sent thumb drives to over 100 reporters, health advocates, even a few international journalists. The more they tried to hide, the more people wanted to know. Then came the hearing. Federal court. 4 executives indicted. Kendrick Roy at the center. I sat on the witness stand in a charcoal suit that used to belong to my mother, gold cross at my throat, every eye on me. "Thea Morno," the prosecutor said, "did your mother ever tell you what she wanted most in this world?" I nodded. She wanted people to stop pretending she didn't exist. That courtroom fell silent. Outside, supporters held up signs, "Remember AURELIA, protect night workers, expose Parallax." Kendrick stared at me the entire time. He didn't blink, didn't move, just stared with the fury of a man whose empire was collapsing. That afternoon, the judge denied the company's motion to seal the case. Everything went public. That night, Parallax's stock crashed 87%. Over a dozen shareholders filed lawsuits. The Department of Defense blacklisted them. Then, karma arrived with fire. The sixth-floor lab caught fire again, but this time it wasn't sabotage. It was evidence of neglect. Violations piled up. Entire sections of the building were condemned. The city forced Parallax to pay millions in fines and cleanup costs. The company was bled from the inside. Employees jumped ship. Contracts were canceled. Kendrick Roy was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Silas Breen got 6 years with parole after turning state's witness. Several board members were barred from corporate positions for life. And the final dagger. Congress passed the Morneau Bill, a law requiring mandatory hazard training and protections for contracted cleaning staff across the country. Named after my mother. And me, I lost my job, my apartment, friends who didn't understand what it meant to burn your whole life down for justice. But I gained something else. Purpose. I founded the Aurelia Initiative, a nonprofit that advocates for invisible workers, custodians, hospital techs, food service workers, people who see everything but are seen by no one. And Willa, she became co-founder. She gave up corporate life and poured herself into the mission. We speak at schools now, at workplaces, government hearings. We tell the story, my mother's story, the last twist. 3 months ago, I received a letter in an unmarked envelope. Inside, a photo of Kendrick Roy in prison blues scrubbing the floor of the federal detention center. No note, no return address. Just a single sticky note across the bottom. Poetic, isn't it? I laughed for a full minute before I cried. Because after everything, after the lies, the silence, the fear, my mother finally got the last word. If this story hit you, smash that like button and subscribe for more real justice stories. And drop a comment below. Who's the most underestimated person you've ever known? Because sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones you never bothered to see. And sometimes they see everything.